So I think it's time to talk about the review of this game. Okay, how do I feel about this game? I think this game is actually amazing, and I don't know where to start. Like, let's start with main story. All the main story beats, the events, the set pieces, wonderfully done, excellently executed, just far above and beyond. Can these guys stop pushing me out of the fucking way? Jesus Christ. All right, we should be good here. Far and above beyond what I could have expected. Okay, they did it so well. I just sometimes I couldn't. It was like I couldn't believe what I was seeing, or how I was like. How do I describe this? Like, it was just basically it was far beyond what I ever could have expected. And in some ways, before playing this game, I was expecting this game to blow me away, because they had 4 years to do this. Okay, they did all the job in remake, and now they had 4 years to just do shit. So I expected this game to be significantly better in every aspect from remake, and it was, and it still blew me far and beyond what I could have expected. It still blew me away. So, like, characters are awesome. Red 13 is awesome. Kate Sif is the one that like got the most, you could say, glow up, you know. I actually like him as a character now, and it's not just like a goofy character from before. Still don't like his combat gameplay. I tried it and I was just like, nope, this ain't for me. But yeah, characters are great. I think, like, I didn't know, for how much I already loved a character, I didn't know they could make me even love them even more. And I'm talking about Tifa. Okay? If I thought Tifa was great before, I think she is like miles above greatness now. Like, it's crazy. What they did with her in this game was phenomenal. I loved it. I loved it. Her story as a character, her relationship with Cloud is just significantly like it's I can't really explain it. It's like their relationship has never meant something like this before. Like, it is completely on a different level than at any point in the past. Like, this means something different now. You know what I'm saying? And props off to them. The writers and everything, they handled all of those moments, I think, beautifully, perfectly. I don't know, like, I don't think I'm exaggerating when I think Tifa is my favorite character out of this entire game, entire Final Fantasy VII. I think so, because she's just so, especially now, she's so, like, fantastic character. Like, they did an amazing job. I can't express that enough. And it's not just with her, I think with all of them too. Like, they've been elevated to a status or to a state that they've never been at before. Just completely, they did great. Like, they did great with all of them, not just her, right? But all of them. It's crazy. Got that out of the way. Now let's talk about the open world. What you do in it, in the open world. So, let's see. Okay, so there's two things I separate in the open world. There is the side quests, and then there is the open world content. What is the open world content? All of the Chadley stuff. The Proto Relic, Life Springs, Towers, combat assignments. Am I forgetting something? What else am I forgetting? Summon crystals. That's all of the... And I guess you could count the chocobo stop signs. I guess that kind of counts. But that's all the open world content. So speaking of strictly about the open world content, I want to say after Junon, I got tired of it. in the grasslands, it was cool. While I was started in the grasslands, it was cool. It's like, oh my god, you're doing this, you do that, you're going all of this other different places. It was cool. But by the end of it, it was a feeling of burnout, right? Because I was kind of like just actively focused on doing it, right? And by the end of when I finished the grasslands, I was kind of like, okay, I'm ready to move on. And by the end of June on, I'm just like, you know what? I'm just not going to focus on this anymore. And instead, just do the side quest instead, which I think was a much better way to do that. Yeah, after June on, I just started focusing on the side quests as my open world content. And just doing things here and there if it was not too far out of my way. And then it felt much better. But I do think, in some ways, I thought I was thinking about this. In some ways, I thought the game was too big. And in some ways, I still feel that way, but I feel like it's just strictly with the open world content, like all the stuff with Chadley. I feel like a lot of this stuff is very, it's just fluff. It's fat, right? And so in some ways, I want them to cut the fat, or at least take a revision, okay? Because let me tell you, after 70 hours, I did not care to do the towers anymore. What specifically is there? No, not this area. Where's the other area? An area. I didn't really care to do the towers. I guess the summon crystals are okay because not only do they make the fight against the summons easier, but they also make them stronger. The life springs are whatever, but they do unlock combat assignments or a special fight in the area for the combat assignments. The combat assignments are kind of whatever, right? They're just fights with objectives as simple as just... It's 3 objectives, and 90% of the time, all there is stagger, pressure, and kill enemy under the time limit. And that's it. Now, you do have exceptions. I feel you do have exceptions. There are very certain enemies that do have specific ones. And often, more times than not, they're kind of annoying. From my experience, from the ones I did do, that I noticed were unique, and they were more often not annoying than they were fun, I guess. So, in some ways, I want them to, not in some ways, I do want them to, like, kind of rethink what you do in the open world besides the side quest. Now, what was good about the the open world content? The proto relics. I think the proto relics are actually great. I thought they were great, right? Because in a sense, it's like a quest line for the region, right? It's basically a quest line, and it's a quest line that takes you through unique experiences, unique gameplay experiences. Okay. I'm trying to remember. The Grasslands was basically a side quest with the 3 guys, the 3 thugs. Junon was the fucking Fort Condor, right? It was all of that stuff. And I don't even know what Gungaga or Goswell Canyon were. Corel was with the Goblin dude and the Cactuars. So I think that's cool. Like, they should absolutely keep that and expand upon that in the next game. You know what I'm saying? Because that's great. It's basically side quests and you get unique gameplay experiences from them. Each of them were unique gameplay experiences. As far as like the 3 that I did actively do, they were. I can't speak for Gungaga, Cosmo Canyon, and Nibble. Okay, Nibble was... Okay, I did do one, it shows, and it was following the Hooded Guys, which I'm actually not too sure about that one, but I didn't complete it, so I don't know what else it could have in store. But yeah, I did think that the Proto Relics were really cool. I thought they were cool, and they should definitely keep that in the next game, but however, I don't really want there to be towers again, because that's just kind of uninteresting. It's fat. It's fluff. You could say it's filler. Yeah, it's just really whatever. Life springs. I don't know about life springs. They're kind of similar to towers, but they offer more. more value, I guess, because you do get you after getting a certain amount, you do get a special fight for the combat assignments, so that's not that bad. So in my opinion, I think tower should go out, or not as much as a focal point. Combat assignments are okay, but change them up a little bit or reduce them a little bit, in my opinion. And life springs are okay as well. And keep the proto relic. I think the proto relic was the best thing in the open world content. Now, the side quests, phenomenal. Side quests, fantastic. Square Enix, you did a phenomenal job of side quests. I almost did them all. Let's see, 7, 6, 5 out of 6, 4 out of 5, 8 out of 8, 3 out of 8. I only didn't do a handful of them. Now, while they weren't, I'm speaking of it overall, they were awesome, but not all of them were awesome. There were some that were weaker than others, and some of them that were just, at worst, they were okay, but a lot of them were great. And why were they great? Because they all had, not only were they interesting storylines going on, and even though in some of them it was just kind of like, go to this area, find thing, and pick up thing, and return to thing. But it's the storylines within them, and just the dialogue between the relevant characters and stuff. Great. It was great. And that's another point I want to say why they're great is because they are all involved with the main cast. Okay, they're all involved in the main cast. Okay, and this is a comparison I bring up to Final Fantasy 16, why I think the last batch of cycles you get at the end of the game, they're great because all of them have to do with the main cast of characters, and they're great, right? And speaking about that, right, about side quests, is that they weren't, I think they were just the right amount of side quests. Just amount. I think we were looking at it before. It was 36. I think that's okay. I think that's the right spot. You want to be in the 30s, I think. So yeah, they did that. Side quests were great. They did a great job with side quests. Keep that up into the next game. Now, okay, we talked basically about now I want to talk about the open world and how you traverse through it, okay? I started thinking about this, I think, into the Corel region. When I got to Corel, I started to think about this. And I didn't really say it yet because I wanted to see if it changed, but it didn't really change. All of the terrain in this game, I think, is too mountainous. It is way too, like, you can't go like 10 seconds walking forward without performing a terrain action. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like they did this on purpose because they wanted to demonstrate, like, look at all this stuff, look at what, like, things you can go over and all this with the chocobos and stuff like that. I think that's why they made the terrain as it did. It's super mountainous. Even in somewhere like the desert, it's still super mountainous. There's still like rock formations, cliffs, jumps you can do, just different levels of elevation everywhere, right? And sometimes I wish they would cut that back, right? Like, I feel in the grasslands, cut it back. I feel like the grasslands should have been a little bit more flat. I think so. It should have been a little bit more flat. Junon was okay. Gongaga, I think, is the worst region to traverse through. It's the way you can traverse the Gongaga is very specific to how the game wants you to. The mushroom locations, the spines, some things you just can't go over, some things you just can't jump down to, and you have to find the way, the path that leads to that lower spot down there. Sometimes it was frustrating, right? And I've noticed that some of these places that they made them had the idea of the chocobo gimmick in mind, right? So Cosmo Canyon, right, just has these places of high elevation, and then there's these places of just all the way down there. It's because they want you to glide through it, right? Corel. Well, Corel was kind of like a two-part region. It had the desert part and the forest part, I guess. And I don't know if this is still the case in the desert, but you could only use the buggy in the desert, and I thought that was weird. I thought that was weird. There were some instances where I wanted to ride a chocobo instead, and I wasn't able to. You can only ride the buggy. So I thought that was a little bit odd. But yeah, I thought the one in the Nebo region was awesome. The blue chocobo, that was so fun, actually. So fun, it was fast. I thought the worst chocobo was the Gongaga region, unironically, because it's basically a normal chocobo. It's basically a normal chocobo from like the grasslands. The only difference is you're allowed to jump on mushrooms. Other than that, it does nothing different. And to some degree, you could say the same thing about the Cosmo Canyon, because it's not like you can just fly. It only lets you glide, right? But at least that was more interesting. It was more fun, right? It was more free. It wasn't as restrictive. And the one in Nebo region is just awesome. Like, holy fucking shit. Like some fucking Super Mario Sunshine shit. You get a fucking jet stream and you start flying up, and then you can go at fast speeds. That was fucking great, right? And honestly, the Junon one lets you climb up the rocks, which was cool, but I kind of wish the speed at which you climb up the rocks was a little faster, right? After some time in that region, I was kind of like, I'll have to go up, and it's just boom, boom, boom. I do kind of wish it was faster. But that's it. And I didn't spend any time here. I don't know what is in here in this ocean. So that's basically the open world. Other than that, in terms of presentation, how they made the areas look, oh my god, fucking phenomenal. They made the areas look amazing, dude. They made the areas look amazing, genuinely amazing. Like, it was incredible. And the music in the areas was fucking fantastic. God, it was so crazy. And I cannot believe this game, all the areas are actually connected in one world. You can go to any region, I wouldn't say on foot, but like you can go to any region without having to teleport. I'm like super positive you can do that. Even in the Cosmo Canyon region, you can too. Yeah, you just take the boat, you take the Tiny Bronco, and you can actually just ride there to the port. I think that's insane. The scale of this game of the world is crazy. And guess what? I'm pretty sure in Port 3, it's only going to get crazier, right? And I noticed this. Look at this part of the map right here. See how it's all grayed out? I guess they're leaving this and up to the north as well. They're leaving that for the Port 3. It's going to be the new areas that they'll have, because obviously Rocket Town is missing and I don't know what else can be here. But all that stuff. And speaking of which, I don't know how they're going to do the open world in the third game. Because if you think about it, third part of the game does have you revisit a lot of the other previous areas. Just in some newer stuff. But it's obviously, I think it's going to be another open world game. So how are they going to make it feel fresh without feel like this is the same thing, right? So that's going to be interesting. I think that's about the open world. Mini games I want to touch, I guess. I don't know what to feel about the mini games. I like them, don't get me wrong. Was there one I didn't like? I don't know. I think I like them. But sometimes I felt like there was too much, and then sometimes I felt like it was fine. Like, I don't know, right? I wasn't a fan of the card game because I'm just not a fan of card games. Okay, I tried to interact with Queen's Blood as little as I could, as possibly as I could. Obviously, the only times you're forced to do it is, I think you're forced to do it. I mean, I don't know. Is in the boat and in the Corel prison, or the whatever it's called. There's only times where you're forced by the story to actually play Queen's Blood. Now, I'm not sure about the boat. Maybe, I don't know what happens if you just immediately forfeit. I don't know. Maybe it just skips it. I have no idea. But those are, and there's only one side quest I can remember where you had to play Queen's Blood. So overall, it was okay. It wasn't too forced. It was fine. So I'm just kind of okay with it. But I thought the mini games were good overall. And I don't think I've played all of them. I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure I'll probably have some missing in the golden saucer. And not to mention, let's not forget Chocobo Racing. I think that's the best minigame in the entire game. It was actually fun. For that one side quest that you have to do, where you have to be at gold rank to do the side quest for the in the gold saucer, I was like, God damn it, I have to play all these matches and races and stuff. And it actually wasn't a drag. Like, I think it was probably like with 9 games in total or something like that. And it was actually pretty fun. It was genuinely, I enjoyed it. Like, that was great. Now on to speak on the combat. The combat fixes a lot of the stuff in the old game. However, I feel it brought up new problems. Specifically, I think with dodging. I feel like dodging is so unreliable. It's so unreliable. It is extremely hard, I think, to dodge an attack in this game. It's extremely hard. And by the end of it, I started to feel like, this is what I started feeling like. For the third game, I want them to implement a perfect dodge. I do. You get the timing right, and you get the timing right. You look, you see the attack coming, you press dodge, and it does, you know, Final Fantasy 16 style dodge. You just, I think that would be great. I think that'd be great. A lot of times I started to use the synergy skill evades, specifically with Tifa, because that seemed much more reliable than trying to dodge something. A lot of the times I would just opt to block instead of just trying to get out of the way, because I knew 9 times out of 10 I wasn't going to get out of the way. I was still going to get hit by the attack. But other than that, I think they made great additions to the combat. Cloud feels amazing to play. In the air, on the ground, just great. I love the addition that they did to Prime mode. I love the changes that they made to Disorder. It's even more fun than it was in the last game. Just great. It was great. I thought the combat was great. All the characters that I ended up using, the characters I ended up using by the end of the game was Cloud, Tifa, and Red 13. That was the team that I stuck with, that just felt the best, right? Because obviously I was gonna have Tifa in the team no matter what. She's just too fantastic of a character, and I mean by like, gameplay, to not have in the team. So it was always, who's the third one, right? And I shifted around. I tried Aerith at towards the beginning. Tried to have an Aerith. I actually didn't really end up liking Aerith as in the gameplay as much as this one. I think that's weird. I feel like that's kind of weird. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if because just the other characters have so much shit that they can do that it just doesn't feel like Aerith can't do much. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I didn't try too much stuff with her, but the time that I did, I just felt like she feels almost exactly the same as she did in Remake. And speaking of just the gameplay, I feel like it was incredibly much harder to generate ATB in this game. I don't remember generating ATB in Remake to be that much trouble like how it was in this one. I could be crazy about this, but I feel like it was. And maybe that could be a thing with the synergy, because maybe they want you to use the synergy skills more. I can see that stuff. And speaking of which, the synergy stuff was cool, but a bit more basic than I thought it was going to be. I think the synergy skills are fine. I feel like they should expand upon it in the next game. However, I feel like these synergy abilities weren't that great. They were good, and some of the stuff that they did give you, because more often than not, it's more about the buffs, the special buffs that they give. So like obviously like extending stagger, being able to do give you 3 ATB bars, unlimited MP and stuff like that. I feel like they should do more of that stuff, but I feel like there should be like some kind of synergy limit break, right? Like just something that just shits on the entire enemy and just feels good to use. I feel like that something like that was missing. Now don't get me wrong, the synergy abilities do kind of, from what when I did notice, they do, well, some of them, the ones that did attack, the abilities did do damage, but more often than not, I wasn't doing the abilities because they did damage. More often than not, it was because of the buffs and the special buffs that they provided, right? That was more often than not why I did them. I think specifically using the synergy skills, right? The one that you just do with R1, that are quick commands, I guess quick commands. With Tifa felt amazing. It was great. It was great because most of them, I feel like when you play as her, they act like a launcher, and I want more stuff like that. Give it more stuff, more things that just open up to you to be able to do as the characters. I think that's great. But yeah, I say overall, what they did with the combat was good. It was good. In the beginning, I will say it felt overwhelming. It felt overwhelming, and there was a point, I was just like 10 hours in, I actually thought the combat was worse, and that wasn't the case. It was just me trying to play the game like Remake when that's not how this game works, right? There was a lot of Remake muscle memory that was fucking me over at the beginning of this game, and once I got past that, once I got past that and basically relearned how to play the game, now we were talking. Now the combat was great. Now it started to feel good. But yeah, I feel like there are definitely some areas of improvement that they can do in the next game just to smooth it out and make it feel great all around in every aspect. What else is there even to talk about? We talked about the combat, characters, story, besides the ending, but I'm not gonna talk about the ending here. That'll be the other thing I did earlier, and which will be another video. Let's see, we did the open world. I think that's I mean, we could talk about the music. Music was amazing. Different, all the new tracks that they were phenomenal. The thousands of different, like, not thousands, but you get what I mean. The tons of different remixes, versions of these songs, and some of the new songs from, not new songs, but some songs from the original that we didn't hear remake yet, just simply because we weren't at that part of the game. Now hearing them, God, amazing. Just great. Just great. Great, bro. It's great. Yeah. So overall, like, what would I give this game? It's hard to say. I feel like I want to give this game somewhere around, I can't pinpoint it. I can't pinpoint it because I don't know how much the negatives of this game are how much they matter to me, if that makes sense, to my enjoyment of the game. So basically, it's between a 9 to a 9.5. 9.5 out of 10 is what I would give this game. We'll have to wait and see though, because with Remake, I thought that game was how I felt about it now. It was like a 9.5. Nowadays, I think that game's like an 8. I think it's just an 8. After playing it multiple times and really seeing the glaring issues with that game, that's how I felt how good that game is after 4 years. It's still a great game, don't get me wrong, but like, there are definitely parts in that game that are just, oh my god, can we just move on? Can we get past this, please? And that's another thing I want to say about this game. There was little to no remake bullshit in this game. What do I mean by that? Things or scenarios that were presented specifically just to make the game longer. Here's an example in Remake. Take in Chapter 10, when you go into the sewers, at some point, you need to cross over to the other side, right? We're talking about the bridge, and you can't because the bridge is given out. And let's be real, that bridge gap is not that big. We all know every single one of those characters could jump the bridge and just be done with it. But no, they want to act like they're normal human, physical human beings. And it's like, oh my god, we have to go all the way around. We have to take this detour and all this stupid shit. Like, get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about? We literally saw in the first chapter, Cloud is jumping from falling tubes to get back to the top. Like, what are we talking about here? He survives a fall from the plate down to a church. What are we talking about here? Right? So it was things like that that was just stupid and just made to make the game longer. That wasn't here. Little to none. Okay? And strictly speaking, in the main story, zero. It was zero. In the main story, zero at all. Sometimes I would see it in like in the side content and open world content where they're just kind of like these things is like, why is this taking so long? Right? Like some of the towers, the way you get up them is just like, I think was it Gongaga? I don't know which one it was, but it had you go up through a rope, and one of the towers is you climbing a rope all the way to the top, and you're going slow. It's slow, and it's just like, why is this like this, right? So in very small, in smaller parts of the game, I saw it, but nowhere near as bad. Another area with that is the having to squeeze through spots. There tons of remake, tons, and they last an eternity. Here, there were significantly less. There wasn't that many. If there was, they did not last that long at all. So great on them. I'm glad that shit was gone. I'm glad we were past that, and it's just the game, bro. It's just the game. Okay. Really, this game doesn't make you waste your time that much. At least in the main story, and even in the side quest, not really. The open world content, a lot of it is kind of just wasting your time doing just filler stuff, right? But that can be improved, I'm pretty sure, in the next game. But yeah, I also wanted to say the technical issues with this game, okay? So, graphically, visually, how I was looking at this game, I was comparing it a lot to Final Fantasy 16, right? And I still think Final Fantasy 16 looks better than this game, right? I still think it does. Now, aesthetic and all that, that's up to you, however, but I think Final Fantasy 16 graphically looks better than this game. And this game does have issues, specifically with textures. Sometimes in cutscenes, the textures would be loaded in and out, acting weird, and it's just like, what the fuck? Some of the stuff, very low assets. In some of the mountain stuff, like you'd see in a shot, and it's just like, that's a very low polygon mountain there, or piece of rock of the mountain. It was weird. Some of the, like, you know, ground textures trying to mesh together did not properly fit with each other, and it looked odd. Not that specifically on that point did not happen much throughout the game, but it did, and when it did, I noticed it. And just in general, textures aren't that high quality. They are not. You look at a table, it looks very low quality. You look at like a door or walls to a building, it looks very low quality. But I guess, I mean, this game is fucking huge, bro. The entire world is connected, and I guess that's just what it is. It could be other things like Unreal Engine 4 texture issues. Remake had them, and this game still kind of has them. Yeah. It just is what it is. It didn't really ruin the experience, but sometimes you notice it and it's just like, wow, that looks bad. But at least for me, it didn't really ruin my experience. I would say not one bit. All I can hope for is a PC release. I hope they do it justice this time. I hope it's not a mess, stutter mess, like how they did with Remake. For the love of God, please, please do not do that again, okay? Do not do that again, for the love of God. Give us a good PC port, okay? Let's start with it not being a stutter mess, okay? How about we start with it just being, it runs fine on PC. Let's start there before we get to, oh, have all these settings and shit like that. No, let's make the game run as it's supposed to, run well first, right? So, you know, hopefully that for the eventual PC release. All right, but I think I've gone on enough. for 40 minutes almost. I think for now this game's at like a 9.5 out of 10. I will say 9.5 out of 10. That's my definitive ranking. Game was awesome, just great. I think I loved this game. Really loved my time with it. 71 hours. Okay, I'm pretty sure it shows on stream right there. 71. It's 72 now because we've been here talking about it. But when I beat the game, it was 71 hours, and I loved practically every second of it. It was great. I don't know if I can play Remake again after this. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see. Time will tell. Fantastic game. Fantastic game. They cooked for 4 years. They cooked. And I guess we'll see in another 4 years. I mean, I don't know how long the next one's going to take, but I think it would take another 3-4 years. So we're going to have to wait for it. There's no DLC this time, so it's just next one. And think about this. We only got one more game left. Think about that. We have one more game left. I think that's crazy to think about. I don't know about you, but I think that's crazy to think about. All right, that's gonna be it. Thank everyone for watching. This game was awesome. I enjoyed the playthrough. I enjoyed playing through this game. Gonna be figuring out that ending in the next foreseeable future, like the next month or something. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys next time, and take care. Peace.